Hey guys, and welcome to another video. This is Modal Verbs Part 2. So last week we talked about the basics of the modal verbs, and in this week's video we'll talk about the more advanced stuff. Things like past tense, passive voice, subclauses, common mistakes, and much more. Let's start with the past tense. So with the modal verbs we don't use the perfect tense, we use the praeteritum tense. The one that is a bit formal with most verbs is actually the normal one, the common one used with the modal verbs. For example, können. Ich konnte, I could, I was able to. Ich konnte, du konntest, sie, es konnte. Wir konnten, ihr konntet, sie konnten. That's the first of our 6 modal verbs. Second one is müssen, must or have to. Ich musste. Du musstest, sie, es musste. Wir mussten, ihr musstet, sie mussten. So as you can see, the praeteritum forms of these modal verbs is actually quite easy. Maybe easier than the present tense, because in the praeteritum tense they are all regular. So there's no vowel change going on. It's all straight use for all of them. And the endings are the usual praeteritum endings. Let's move on now to the next one, which is wollen, want. Ich wollte, du wolltest, sie, es wollte. Wir wollten, ihr wolltet, sie wollten. Great. The next one is mögen, to like. It shows preference. Ich mochte, like I used to like this, but maybe now I don't like it anymore. Ich mochte, du mochtest, sie, es mochte. Wir mochten, ihr mochtet, sie mochten. And the next modal verb is dürfen, may or be allowed to. Ich durfte, du durftest, sie, es durfte. Wir durften, ihr durftet, sie durften. So maybe you can see a pattern here. The modal verbs, they use their umlaut, the ones that have one, like müssen or dürfen or können. Great. And the 6th and last modal verb is sollen. Ich sollte, du solltest, sie, es sollte. Wir sollten, ihr solltet, sie sollten. Great. Now some example sentences for the praeteritum tense. Durfte gestern nicht ins Kino gehen. He wasn't allowed to go to the movies yesterday. So the present tense, darf, he is allowed or he may. And the present tense, durfte, he was allowed. Okay, great. There is the noun Kino here. Do you know the plural form of that? Das Kino, die Kinos. And then we have the word nicht, the negation word nicht. And it's quite tricky to find the right position for this word, but a great tip is it's usually in front of a preposition, if there is a preposition. Like here, in. So nicht in or nicht ins Kino gehen. Okay, great. Next example. Früher wollte ich nie früh aufstehen. Heute mache ich das gern. I never wanted to get up early in the past. Now I like doing it. So ich will, I want. Ich wollte, the past tense form, I wanted. So we have früher in here. That's actually comparative of früh. We also have früh. Früh is early. And früher is comparative. It means earlier. But it can also mean in the past, before, or I used to. That's what we have here. We have früher, as in the past, long time ago, as opposed to heute, today. Früher, heute. It used to be like this, but today or nowadays it's like this. And we have aufstehen, which is a separable verb. Past tense form, ist aufgestanden. Ist aufgestanden. Great. Next example for the past tense form. Wir mussten leider unsere Pläne ändern. Unfortunately, we had to change our plans. Wir müssen, we must. Wir mussten, we had to. So we have the plural form, Pläne here, die Pläne. Do you know the singular form? It's Plan. But is it der, die, or das? That's the big question here. It is der Plan. Der Plan, die Pläne. Okay. Now the second item here, the second point is the passive voice. So not someone does something, but something is done. My bike is stolen or was stolen, something like that. Passive voice. So, möchte befördert werden would be an example. he wants to get promoted. So someone promotes him, the boss promotes him, that would be active voice, but passive voice, he wants to get promoted. So in English, something gets done or something is done. That's the passive voice. If you're serious about learning German, you should definitely check out my 27-hour-long Beginners A1 course. Join over 1,000 students that master the A1 German level with me. All details down below. It's the first link in the video description. So in German, how does it work? You get a participle to form plus werden at the end, because this now is what we call infinitive passive. First, a participle to form, followed by werden at the very end of the sentence. He wants to get promoted. And we have also a noun here, and that's promotion. That's die Beförderung. So you get a better job, more money, more responsibility, and so on. Die Beförderung. Great. Next sentence. Das Auto muss repariert werden. The car needs to be repaired. So again, we have passive here. Muss repariert werden. Repariert, participle to, and then werden, that's the infinitive. Muss repariert werden. If this was active, you could say something like Ich muss das Auto reparieren. So now the subject is the person, ich, someone who does the action, and then the car will be the object. In this case, accusative object. Ich muss das Auto reparieren. So repariert werden, in most grammar books, this is referred to as passive infinitive. So it's reparieren would be the normal infinitive, reparieren, active, and then the passive infinitive, repariert werden. All right. Third example. Leider konnte das Auto nicht repariert werden. Unfortunately, the car couldn't be repaired. It wasn't possible to repair the car. So here I've combined the two. We have past tense now, konnte, past tense of the modal verb, but we still have passive. Totally doable, not too tricky. You can combine the past tense form of the modal verb with the passive. Leider konnte das Auto nicht repariert werden. So leider, a very important adverb, unfortunately. Do you know the opposite for positive things, for good things that I hope happen a lot in your life? That would be zum Glück. Leider, unfortunately, zum Glück, fortunately. Zum Glück or also glücklicherweise. These are synonyms. Okay, next item would be modal verbs in subclauses. Let's take a look. Nebensatz in German. Sie ist traurig, weil nicht ausgehen möchte. She is sad because he doesn't want to go out. So, weil, because, is one of the most important subclause connectors. Subjunctions, we also call them. It's the first one most people learn. So it's weil plus a subclause. Or you can also use another conjunction, which is denn plus a main clause. So they have the same meaning. Weil plus subclause, denn plus main clause. They both mean because. So, but let's focus on subclauses here. So we have, these are the most important subjunctions. Weil, das with double S, wenn, als, damit. These are the most important ones, the first 5 that you should probably learn. And once you know these, you can also move on to learn these. Während, nachdem, bis, bevor, falls, seit, indem. These are the most important subclause connectors. Now, it's too much to cover for this video, but I can do a separate video on this topic if you want. Let me know down below. And now there are 2 more things that are also subclauses in German, and that's Relativsätze, relative clauses, and indirekte Fragen, indirect questions. Again, there could be a whole video on this topic coming soon if you want me to do so. Ich habe keine Zeit, weil ich arbeiten muss. I don't have time because I have to work. So let's analyze the word order here. What's going on here? We have the subclause. It always starts with a subjunction, with weil in this case, because. And now after the subjunction, we must use the subject, weil ich. We have to use the ich here. Then the rest comes in between, if there is any other words. And then at the end, you get the infinitive, and the very last position, you will get the modal verb. Because in a subclause, the finite verb, the conjugated verb, it's the one that would be normally on the second position in the main clause. That's the one that goes last to the last position. In a main clause, it would be ich muss. So muss is the second position in the main clause. And now in a subclause, that's the last position. Weil ich arbeiten muss. First infinitive, then modal verb muss. Great. Er isst nur frische Lebensmittel, weil er gesund bleiben will. He only eats fresh food because he wants to stay healthy. So again, we have the modal verb on the last position, will, and the second last position is an infinitive, bleiben in this case, stay healthy. So here we have the noun Lebensmittel, literally means of living. Leben, life or living, and Mittel is a means. And maybe you know other words with this part, das Mittel. The most important one, most people learn in the A1 course, is Verkehrsmittel, das Verkehrsmittel, a means of transport, bus, bike, car, tram, and so on. Okay, great. Next item is the usage without an infinitive. Let's take a look, because usually you get a modal verb in combination with an infinitive. Sometimes that's not the case. For example, with languages. If you want to say, can you speak French? In German, you can just say, can you French? So the sprechen is optional. Kannst du Französisch sprechen? Or just simply, kannst du Französisch? So this already gives us two options. We have kannst du Französisch and kannst du Französisch sprechen. Now there's a third option. In this case, you just use the verb sprechen without the modal verb. That's the third option for saying that you know or speak a language. In this case, that's sprichst du Französisch? Yeah, the E changed to the I because sprechen is an irregular verb. Great. Another usage is if you want to go to a place. You have to go, you want to go, you should go, and so on, to a place. Sie wollen an den Strand fahren, but also fahren here is optional. Sie wollen an den Strand is also totally fine in spoken German. They want to go to the beach. But careful, you can only omit the infinitive if it's about going to a place, if there is a change of place, not for the location. In this case, it doesn't work. But for you, if you want to go or drive or travel somewhere, in these cases you can leave out, you can omit the infinitive. So we have the masculine noun, der Strand. Do you know the plural? It's der Strand, die Strände. Great. Third example here is again for someone who must go somewhere. So again, there's a change of place. Er muss jetzt nach Hause gehen. Or simply, er muss jetzt nach Hause. You can leave out the infinitive gehen. It's again about a change of place. It's about going somewhere. Das Haus, die Häuser is the plural form. And we have nach Hause gehen, nach Hause fahren. That's nach Hause if you go home, change of place. If you are at home, if you want to stay at home, it's a different preposition. In this case, we get zu Hause. So nach Hause gehen, but zu Hause sein. Great. Next item is sollen versus müssen. Many learners of German mix up these two modal verbs. Let's take a look. Ich habe gerade mit der Chefin telefoniert. Ich soll die Dokumente kopieren. I just got off the phone with the boss. She wants me to copy the documents. So most people use sollen wrong. If you use sollen like this in a statement, so it's not a question here, if you use sollen like this, it always means that someone else wants that. There's a third person involved. In this case, the third person is the boss. Die Chefin will das, the female boss. She wants that, right? So the context here says, I just talked on the phone with the boss and then ich soll. Now we know, okay, the boss said that. There's always this third person involved. So it's like an order, an instruction, or a wish, a request, something like that. But not from the person speaking, but from a third person. So if two people are talking, then there must be a third person involved who gave the order, who gave the request, etc. Second example, die Lehrerin sagt, du sollst im Unterricht besser aufpassen. The teacher says, you should pay more attention in class. So here, it's the teacher who wants the kid to pay more attention. So the scenario here might be there is the father talking to the kid And then this third person who gave the order must be somewhat either, implied or maybe explicitly mentioned in the sentence. Like in this case, it's die Lehrerin, the female teacher. So a sentence like this wouldn't be great in German, wouldn't be correct. Ich soll jetzt schlafen gehen. Now this sentence is not wrong, technically speaking, but the German native speaker would never say it like this. There must be some context. Who said that? Is it a doctor? Is it the mom? Is it the husband or wife? Who is that? So it's not wrong, but it doesn't sound right either. So who said that? Who's the one who said that? In these cases, you can either say ich muss, you can use another modal verb. Ich muss jetzt schlafen. It means that there's a necessity or an obligation. In this case, that's okay. Ich muss jetzt schlafen gehen. Or, second option, you can use sollen, but in the conjunctive 2, in the conjunctive 2 forms. That would be ich sollte jetzt schlafen. And that's now used as a recommendation. So ich soll, that's the indicative, the normal forms, means someone else said that, but ich sollte, just add the te, and then you have the conjunctive 2 forms, which, by the way, coincide with the Präteritum forms. They're the same for this verb. And now it means it's just an advice, recommendation by someone else, or even just by yourself. I should do that. I should go to bed now because I think so. So ich sollte is very different from ich soll. Okay. Next item is nicht müssen versus nicht dürfen. And our first sentence is the following. Sie müssen hier nicht rauchen. In English, you don't have to smoke here. So you're not forced to smoke here. Doesn't make much sense, does it? So here German is quite, well, logical, I would like to say, because müssen implies that there is a Pflicht. And Pflicht is obligation. So with müssen, there is some kind of obligation. Someone forces you to do something. So with nicht müssen, it means that there is no obligation. Kind of makes sense, at least to me as a native speaker. Müssen, obligation. Nicht müssen, there's no obligation. So it kind of means you don't have to smoke here. No one forces you, but that doesn't make sense. What the person wants to say is actually, Sie dürfen hier nicht rauchen. Now it means you're not allowed to smoke here. So nicht dürfen, that's the English must not. Not nicht müssen. That's a false friend. Du musst mir nicht helfen. Ich schaffe das alleine. You don't have to help me. I can do this on my own. I can do this by myself. That's a great sentence. You don't have to do that. You needn't do that. It's not necessary for you to do that. That's the great usage. So nicht müssen means that. It doesn't mean something is prohibited. In this case, use nicht dürfen, like shown on the last slide. Another option would be, du brauchst mir nicht zu helfen. We also have need, brauchen, but with a verb, we only use it in a negative way, like nicht brauchen, and then plus zu, infinitive. So these mean the same thing. Du musst mir nicht helfen, or du brauchst mir nicht zu helfen. They mean the same thing. Third example, du musst die Dokumente nicht kopieren. You don't have to copy the documents. You needn't copy the documents. Not necessary. Das ist nicht nötig. It's not necessary. Ich mache das. I'll do that. I'll take care of it. So let's recap one last time. Nicht müssen, something is not necessary. Nicht dürfen, something is not allowed. Great. Now the last common mistake that you should avoid is mögen versus gern. So mögen, the modal verb mögen, versus the adverb gern. Let's take a look. Ich mag Lasagne. I like lasagne. So standard usage here is to use mögen in combination with a noun. Mögen plus a noun. We usually don't use it with a verb. I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. Ich mag Lasagne. I like lasagne. You can also say that you like doing something in German. It's possible. In this case, don't use mögen, use the adverb gern. Ich esse gern Lasagne. By the way, gern without the e at the end and gerne, they mean the same. They are synonyms, gern or gerne. Ich mag Deutsch. I like German, so the German language. I hope that you do too. Or ich lerne gern Deutsch. Ich spreche gern Deutsch. So normally we use mögen plus a noun to say what you like, to say that it's your preference. Mögen plus a noun. If there is a verb involved, I like doing something, like I like speaking German. In this case, use the adverb gern. Ich spreche gern Deutsch. Great. Ich mag Deutschland. I like Germany. Or with a verb, I like living in Germany. How would that be? I like living in Germany. That would be ich lebe gern in Deutschland. So to recap, you like something, mögen. You like doing something with a verb, then use the verb plus the adverb gern. So can we not use mögen plus a verb at all? Yeah, we can use it. It does exist. So for example, magst du zu mir kommen? It does work, but now it doesn't mean a general preference. It's more like a wish, like a request. So it means, would you like to come to my place? Would you like to come over? So with mögen, it usually shows a general preference, like you like this, you like that, you like Germany. But then if you want to say that you like doing something, use gern, because mögen plus a verb, it does exist. It actually means want or would like. It doesn't have the general meaning. So these are common mistakes to avoid in regards to the modal verbs. By the way, I have a full course on the modal verbs, a grammar course, A1 to B1 modal verbs. It's a 4-hour course. Check out the link down below. It'll be the first link. See you in the next video.